So the first thing you want to do is to copy your character and re-import it into a different blank sheet. Doing this makes it way easier in my opinion to make a body sheet without fearing to mess up the features of your original character. Now you want to separate the body. The more you separate, the better your tweening looks. The less you separate, the easier it is to tween. So it's really up to you. After you finish absolutely butchering your character, you'll just take a screenshot. You'll also want to screenshot your original pose to use for a reference, so your character doesn't look mentally challenged and dropped on their head from birth. You may not need to use the reference if you're good at placement, but if you're new, I'd suggest you do. Now I am just going to make a duplicate layer of each body part. To do this, all you need to do is use the lasso tool and click duplicate. It's an annoying process, especially when you have a lot of parts. After you finish that, this is where the reference comes in. You'll just fit on your layers like a puzzle piece to your image below. After this, your body sheet is done if you don't feel like doing any editing. You also want to organize your layers to what comes on top and what comes on the bottom, and I'll put an example on the screen. After this, you'll use save your pieces from bottom to top or top to bottom, but I find it easier from bottom to top using the 3 dots on the right side of the screen. After you save everything, you'll go to a light motion and add an element. Then you'll add each your body pieces again from bottom to top like so. As you can now tell, I'm getting so damn tired of adding subtitles. Anyway, now we're getting to the points I can't stress enough when tweening. Adding pivot points. Please add your pivot points to your layers or else your parts will start swinging around like the wig. You say you'll pull off your op's head, and you don't want that, so add pivot points. I'll also give an example where I add each of mine if you want to copy it. Second pass, one can't stress enough, adding layer parenting. Please parent your layers to each other. Pivot points do you a favor, but parenting does you more. I have premium on here, but you'll still be able to use the parenting for free. Parenting is hard at first, but basically, you just add your non-dominant layer to your dominant layer, like the back hair to the head, the lower arm to the upper arm, and each upper part of the body to the torso. You won't parent the torso to anything. After you're done, each of your parts should move with the torso. If it doesn't, you may have parented something incorrectly, but that's perfectly fine, as it's not a hard fix. When I move each upper body layer, the lower body layer will move with that upper layer in sync. That's the point of parenting. One other thing I'll mention is adding the parenting helper. It's an effect I'll usually add to the legs of my character to help them stay in place when I rotate my character. This prevents my characters from symbolizing helicopter whenever they rotate. I won't go into much detail about this, but you can either add it to one of both legs, and you'll click weighted and adjust the weight accordingly. Now we get into the point of this video, the tweening. After you finish making your sheet, you'll just exit elements and head to projects, where you'll usually add your audio and background. Just click on elements on the right side of your screen to add your character you just created. Now to tween. Since you parented your parts and added pivots, your movement won't look like shit, but now you just want to add graphs to your movement. To do this, just add keyframes and move your character accordingly. Then you'll just click on the graph. I use the basic graphs, and I'll just adjust them as I go. As you can see, the difference between the movement without graphs and with graphs is huge. I'll use the one on the bottom for this video though. You'll add graphs and keyframes to all your parts. It doesn't have to be the same graph if you don't want them to. It's up to you. Now I'll show you the second way I tween. If you notice, in most of my videos, I add a little bit of rocking back and forth. To do this, all you need to do is go back to your graphs and click on the second tab with the wiggly lines. I use the ones that looks like hills for this for smoother movement. You can also adjust your other parts too, to make them all rock back and forth, though you don't have to at the same time. Feel free to experiment. The last thing I will show you is bounce. One of the other things I add in my videos, you'll just go to Effects and click on Scale Assistant. I add this to only my torso layer. I used a graph that looks like mountains for this for a more rough bounce. The more mountains, the faster the bounce, the less the slower. You can also use the hill graph for a more smoother bounce. Some rule applies. And with that, this is the end of the tutorial. I hope this was helpful.